let me see if this is working. Give me a second. I hope everybody's having a great day. Today we're going to be looking at this Stamp Forge Studio by We Are Makers. And just in case you're wondering, I did do some upfront work. And the reason why I did that is because it takes a while to make each stamp. So let me, oh, here we go. It looks like we're working. Okay, sorry, just wanted to check. The first thing I want to jump into before going into any of this is to walk you through kind of what I did. So I actually videoed everything, and let's jump over there. So here you can see me starting to unbox this. It's a We Are Memory Keepers product. There's a lot of different parts and pieces to this whole thing. So I would say it's an intermediate craft. The way they've boxed it up, the steps you have to do is an intermediate craft, which I have absolutely no problem with. I would say I'm an advanced crafter. I love doing all the things, making everything more difficult than it needs to be. I love it. And so I have nothing against that, but I do want you to know if you don't feel comfortable at intermediate level crafting, this might not be the thing for you. So there's the polymer, there's the stamp press that you use after, the cleaning brush, the stamp forge, and that's kind of all the things that are included. So I've stepped over into the Cricut design space because I use a Cricut maker, and I'm creating the stamp design that I want. So this is my little logo. You'll see it around sometimes. And I'm just piecing that onto this rectangle that's the same size as the Stamp Forge little piece of vinyl that comes with it that you need to use to kind of create the stamp. I'm actually squeezing these down just a little bit because they are a little bit smaller than 3x4. So squeezing it down just a little bit makes sure that that whole image is going to be on the stamp. Then I'm aligning it on my little page where I know I have my vinyl already set up, and I'm going to cut that out. I've skipped ahead a little bit, and here you can see me weeding the vinyl out. So I'm weeding out where I want the stamp to be raised. So if I wanted it to kind of be negative, then I would have weeded out the other parts. But right now I have it weeded, so it'll be like the rays and the clouds. The next step is to put your stamp case all together, and we'll go through this in just a second, but basically clamp the photopolymer plate, the stamp image, and then the case, and then you put that in the stamp forge for 3 to 9 minutes. I'd go with 9 minutes. Then you're going to wash that stamp off. So you undo it from the case, which takes a little bit of time. You clean off the stamp, which takes a little bit of time, and then you're going to put that stamp back in the stamp forge, and you'll see that here in just a second. I did it for another 9 minutes, and sometimes you can even go a little bit further than that. So I do want to point out here around the edge of that cloud, you can see where the vinyl is flat, and then you can also see where it doesn't quite touch on the edges. And just remember that, because I'll bring it up in just a minute. The last thing you do is stamp it out. So let's try this first one that I did, which is the Acropolis, and see how it actually stamps out. Now, I haven't cut away any of the excess stamps. So you can see I kind of get those edges, right? Because I haven't cut it away. You can also see that it's still sticky on the lowered valley pieces. I had to bring out my biggest, toughest scissors to be able to cut through the photopolymer plate. There is a very thick very hard, rigid plastic backing on these stamps. And so if you don't have the scissors to cut through that, it's going to be a nightmare. So I'd recommend these scissors if you're thinking about doing this. Otherwise, I wouldn't be able to cut through it. But once I did that, and I did stick it in for another like 3 minutes after the second 9 minutes baking, and it did stamp better the second time after that little bit extra time, as well as cutting off all the edges. Now, I had some trouble with the words, and we'll get into that in just a second. But here's kind of how the process went. And I went ahead and let me go back over here and made 4 stamps with the 4 photopolymer plates that were included. And I went ahead and did it off camera because, or I guess not technically off camera because I did video record it, but it just takes a long time to make one stamp. So I wanted to try it out and have some thoughts. Before I go into my thoughts, I do want to kind of walk you through when you're putting the case together. You're going to have the bottom case, which is black, and then you're going to have your photopolymer plate. And this is just a like foam insert that they had that came with it. When you get the photopolymer plate, there's going to be a hard side, and then there's going to be a side with a backing. So the hard side goes down, the backing goes up, and you peel the backing off. The next item is the stamp image. How it says in their instructions is to have it glossy side up. Let me pull out the instructions. Layer the photopolymer plate rough side up, followed by the vinyl sheet. Design should read backwards in the clamp case. I guess it doesn't say, maybe up here it tells you kind of how to cut it out, but basically they want you to have it this way. I really think that you should have it the other way. So theoretically, when you're cutting it out, you should mirror the design. Now on this one, it doesn't matter, right? It's mirrored anyway. It wouldn't matter which way you printed it. On one with the words, you would have to think about that. You would have to mirror it because like this, it's not going to come out where you can read it, right? So if it is directional, you do need to mirror it. But the reason I say this is on that video, I showed how kind of this backing sheet or this image sheet touched the stamp in some places, and then in some places, especially close to this lip, it didn't touch. Well, you can clearly see that lip on the stamp. So the stamp isn't flat, right? It has kind of a ridge that's slightly lower. So the reason I'm saying that is that's why I think, and I haven't tried it because I didn't think about this until after I'd made all of them, but I think if you print your image this way, where the backing is down, this is all smooth, right? This is all smooth, whereas there are technically little ledges here. So the all smooth side should kind of cling to that photopolymer and all be flat and hopefully give you a flat image, which is what you want. So case, photopolymer plate, stamped image, and then the top case, you put that in your stamp forge and you cook it for 9 minutes. Then you take it out, you'll take the photopolymer plate, you'll wash off, and basically there'll be kind of a sticky area. So like the sticky area would be all here and a not as sticky area, and you just use that brush. And it's kind of interesting because this is a very hard bristled brush, but you just do it like this for quite a few minutes until it just keeps going down. And then you have a stamp ready to go. Well, not ready. You wash it, you kind of dry it off, and then you put it in the stamp forge for another 9 minutes of baking. before you get your scissors and you cut it out. Now, these, like I said, they have a backing on them. So it's just a very interesting backing. I know why they did it. They did it to take making stamps from being a difficult or like advanced crafter type item to an intermediate, but there's a definite downside because one, the the stamps are super thin. I mean, I measured it a minute ago, and where it's raised, so where you get the whole thickness, is only 1/16 of an inch. So that includes that plate, the plastic plate, as well as the photopolymer. So the max you can get difference is 1/32 of an inch difference between the highs and the lows, which just, I don't know. That is not a lot. It makes it kind of difficult. And if you have any issues at all, there's just no room for error. That's one thing. The other part about it having a backing is that, of course, it doesn't stick to anything, right? Photopolymer stamps usually stick to things, and it doesn't. So you do have to use double-sided tape, which they included to be able to actually stick it somewhere. So kind of those are the downsides. And this was my first time playing with it, and it was yesterday when I was doing all this. And that's kind of how it turned out. I've been going back and forth all day about this. I have some ideas. The first one being that stamped image, making sure you have the smooth side down. I think that will help. I'm going to try it. I also have a couple other ideas that I'm planning to, I guess, try and hope that I get a bit better stamping. One thing you'll also see is on this stamp, which here you can see is clearly delimited, whatever that word is, delineated. There's a clear line. You can see that top and bottom, and then I didn't get it here. The middle of the stamp, that worked fine. These edges didn't, and I think the reason is because the plate was like this. So when it went into the stamp forge, let me see if I can turn this over. You can see the blue light is right there, and that's the only area that the blue light is in. Is there blue light behind this black? That would be interesting. I think there might be. Yeah, there's literally more blue lights. Oh my gosh. Why would they cover up the ones right here? I mean, I understand the ones on the side. Okay. Hot pause. I can't even. How could you do that? Why would you do that? That's crazy. Because that's literally what I was about to complain about. Okay. We're cutting this. Second thing we're going to try. This is just, why would you do that? I mean, I really do get the ones on the side. Is you're wanting to just do above. So I do get that. But why would you cover up this side, and I'm assuming that side? That doesn't make any sense to me. Because you can see here, I'm pretty sure my plate was like this, and the top and the bottom didn't get very good coverage. But if I had all three of these uncovered, then I could have put it in like this and gotten full coverage. So, okay. Tip number 2. Let's try it without these, which I'll come back and do the second side, but oh my gosh, that's craziness. So when I did this stamp, I didn't realize until I'd cleaned it off. So it's too late, to go back and try and get more of the stamped image. But I don't think that enough blue light was getting to the edges. So when I did this one is I did an extra 120 seconds or maybe even 3 minutes where I had it like this. So I had this stamp kind of halfway in so the edges each got enough blue light. But from now on, I'm taking off that top. Oh my gosh, I can't even. So that is the second item. That was the other big tip I was going to give y'all. So I do plan on making some more stamps, trying this again with some of my new ideas, and I have plenty of stamp packages to use. I also have a couple other ideas of things that might make this work a little bit better. But we'll see about those. One thing I love this idea. So I'm really excited about where I can take this. You can see I did, here we go. Sorry, this is going to drive me crazy. I did make one with my logo. The problem with the Cricut is you can only cut so thin, right? So like I couldn't weed the cloud without weeding the Terry Lisa Creates also. So instead I went ahead and just like peeled off all of it. But I think I might be able to use some transparencies that you can print on, maybe print some designs. I'm hoping to try that out. I just got some transparencies today, so I've got some designs all planned for that. If you want to do things like this, right, this is a really cool stamp idea. It does seem to work where you're able to get pretty thin lines. I do think that having more of the blue light will help because you can see here I had that same issue with the top and the bottom, but the lines are actually pretty thin. I picked some, you might see a theme in everything other than this one, is kind of ancient Greece, and I did that specifically because I got a new collection from Crafter's Companion all about ancient Greece or ancient Rome, kind of ancient Middle Eastern. And so I wanted some additional stamps to kind of go along with that. This one is fine. I think I might need to cut down the edges a little bit more just because I'm getting that edge stamping. But even though it kind of ends, I'm fine with that. It'll look fine. It really bothers me about this one that I don't have those lines at the top and the bottom. It just doesn't read column as much as I would really like it to. But I definitely can redo this one. Let me move that. Let me move all of these out of the way. Then you can see on this one, when I designed it and cut this out, I didn't realize how hard it was going to be to cut the stamp. I was thinking it was going to be like regular stamps, but this has that really hard backing, so I'm kind of nervous about cutting right here. But let's go ahead and try it. I did do a Luna moth because I have some stuff and with that design on it, and I think it would be cute. Oh my goodness. This is just so thick. It's just so hard. I guess it's really not that thick. It's just a very hard plastic. There we go. And it makes it extra difficult because you want to get as close as you can to that stamped image so that you don't have, right, this stamp off issue. But then if you get too close, you're not going to be able to, you're going to mess up your stamped image because you're going to cut into it. So there's just there's a couple issues I'm having with this product personally. If you haven't bought it and you've been thinking about it, I would recommend maybe waiting a little bit and seeing what people say. I am going to keep trying. I'm going to try and make some other items, see what I can do um, to really get a good impression with these. I do appreciate that We Are Makers pushes the boundaries and tries new things and does a lot of cool products. I wish they would do a little bit more research and development before they took a product to market, because like this could be an industry game changer if it wasn't impossible to use. I don't know. I'm having so much trouble even just cutting this. It's impossible. And I feel like I'm just ruining this stamp that was quite a few dollars, right? If they'd just done a little bit more R&D. Okay. There we go. Almost. Almost got it. But I'm sure I've ruined the top of that leaf. But you know what? Let's try it. Also, yesterday night when I did this, it was still a little bit sticky, but kind of after having sat out all day, it's not near as sticky as it was. So let's try and see if these are going to stamp, because I honestly don't know if after, kind of finish curing, they stamp very well. Okay, here we go. Oh, but see, this is so wonderful. So a couple months ago, Crafter's Companion had this really cool nighttime collection that I got. I really loved, and I felt like what it was missing was a Luna moth. I just felt like they needed that. And now I can have a stamp to add to that collection that really just enhances it, hopefully. Oh, but see, this is going to be the issue, is it's such a thin stamp that you just get that over stamp. See where the edges are? Now, I can hear y'all saying right now, Lisa, use the stamp press. That'll solve all your issues. And I'm going to do it. And we can see if it solves all the issues. So here's this little laurel wreath. And put some backing on it. I really do love the idea of being able to make my own stamps. And when I cut these stamps out, I was so excited. The problem is this backing. And I really do get why We Are Makers did that, because otherwise I think they'd have to do they'd have to use gel, the photopolymer gel, which I'm going to agree that that would take it from an intermediate craft to an advanced craft, but you would have an end product that is actually exciting and not a huge giant pain in the behind. Okay, there we go. We've got our little laurel leaf. Let's stamp it out. Okay, let's stamp on some fun paper. Here we go. I pulled out my whatever paper paper from projects I've already finished, or had extras of, that kind of stuff. And let's see if we can make something cool. Do a black laurel wreath and using the stamp press. Here we go. That's literally as close on the outside as I can get. On the inside, I might be able to get a little bit closer. I'm worried about cutting into the stamp just by the nature of it, but we'll see. And then they did give us this helpful stamp press. There we go. And I did notice that didn't put out very many videos. They didn't do very much press about this product, and I think they did it because they were having issues. Okay. Now, part of that could be the paper. Part of it's also because this stamp is very hard. There's no give to it. This is not a soft stamp. And maybe that's because I did it for the full 9 minutes both times, and maybe you need to do less. So that's an option. Maybe we'll try less because it's basically hard plastic now as opposed to kind of this soft photopolymer that I'm used to with stamps. Okay. Better? I don't know. This is why I've been doing it the other way, where I've been bringing the paper to the stamp, because then I can kind of press the paper in, but you do get a lot more of the overstamping, where here I'm not getting the overstamping, but I'm also not getting the stamping that I want either. So here we go. Let's go with that. And after 3 rounds, I'm going to say that's as good as I'm going to be able to get it, which I don't mind so much the distress look. I just wouldn't want that for every single thing, right? All right, well, I've kind of been poo-pooing this, and the reason why is because I've been so excited about this and hopeful that it would work, and just I've had a lot of issues. So let me take it back. I'll do some more tests, and as soon as I've got a process that actually kind of works and gives you a nice end product, I'll let everybody know. I'll do another video, and we can keep trying to make something with this, and hopefully we can get it to a spot where something actually exciting is happening, as opposed to kind of various levels of disappointment. So I'm sorry that this is not the most exciting video, but I just wanted to share kind of how this was going. And I really do want to say I'm a fan of We Are Makers. I'm just not a huge fan of this specific product. So thanks so much, everybody, for joining. I will be back on